This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram at Lone Wolf PB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community.
What's going on, PTG Nation? Thank you guys so much for tuning in and rocking with us. This episode, we have Clint Johnson from AHSBIZ, one of the most electrifying players in the league, known for some incredibly explosive moves, incredibly dynamic, and one of the best characters we have. So without further ado, we're going to hop in the show.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon. Great shot by all the guys. So Tyler Harmon saved that game.
Came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Play the Game podcast, episode number 295. We're almost there. 300 is right around the corner. And today's guest is one of the most dynamic and passionate players in the game, a true competitor who's earned his stripes through relentless hustle and heart. He's a key part of AC Diesel's identity and a fan favorite for his energy on and off the field. So please, everybody, help me welcome to the show, Clint Johnson. Let's go.
Hey, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, baby. Good to have you.
Oh, I love it. Welcome, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, appreciate the time. Listened to quite a few of these episodes on my commute, which is about an hour to work and an hour back home. So appreciate the entertainment and the insights and just getting to know other pro players. Always a good time.
Well,
Yeah,
likewise, brother. You've been providing an immense amount of entertainment in the pro division for a few years now. And actually, before you got in here, Tyler and I were talking about it, how you're like one of the more exciting characters to watch. So like for us, we're like, he's somebody that the camera should be following. You know, not only are you playing at a high level, you've had some insane moves, but you just have a really great personality to follow. So if we want to, film or create some sort of content around the players, like we always talk about, you're definitely one of the characters that has my vote. And I'm sure we're going to get into that whole thing in a little bit, but yeah, thank you for joining us, brother.
Yeah, no, appreciate the time. Looking forward to the conversation. Happy to go any route, answer any questions, and I'll basically communicate anything besides my credit score and my social. So happy to dive in.
Yeah. It gets wild in here. We got the tinfoil hats if it has to go that route. But more importantly, let's dial in and see where you at. Let's
hold on. He said anything other than credit score or so. How about mother's maiden name, first street address when you know where you grew up,
name,
exactly,
birth year,
exactly. We can get enough going.
No, actually, I need to know your email address when you were younger. What was it? Like that? You know how we all had the crazy emails. Come on.
Man, that's a good question. First email.
Mine was TwistedKid777 at AOL. You know what I mean? Like it was.
I think mine was honestly probably the lamest thing. I think it was like auto-populated. I put in my first and last name and it generated. It was like Clint Johnson 2394. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super lame. I'm the guy that just takes the suggested passwords, like never creates my own.
Oh no, dude. No, I'm sure it was creative. It was so creative you can't say it on the show. That's how creative it was. All right, so let everybody know where you at right now, where you tuned in from.
Yeah, for sure. I actually did a podcast with Maddie a while back, and it was the same thing. It was like end of the day at work, and so I do have an office job. I work in office Monday through Friday. And so today is actually both end of month and end of quarter at my company. And so half my sales team is behind that privacy wall, just raging and closing deals. So I hopped in here and said, piper it down, or today's your last day. And here we are. Yeah. So grinding at work, we technically close at 6 p.m. Central Time. So we're wrapping up now, end of month, end of quarter, and getting to hang out with you guys instead of working. And then I'll drive home after this.
Attaboy, hustling. Yeah. So what exactly are you hustling at? What's the gig?
Yeah, so we're actually a concierge business, and so kind of like a one-stop shop. If I could simplify our business model, it's kind of vendor consolidation, cost optimization. So instead of
Mhm.
you, when you move, have to call an electricity provider, then an internet provider, then a TV provider, then a home security provider, you name it, you
Yeah.
can talk to one of our advisors, and they'll let you know what's available, what the best rates are, providers, serviceability, all of that, all in one phone call. And so, yeah, I was in tech sales for about 4 years. So when COVID hit, I was working from home, 100% remote, doing like cybersecurity sales, and it was an awesome gig. But really wanted to get back more to the B2C, making an impact in
Hmm.
individuals' lives versus a business. And yeah, this was a growing company in Dallas, so grateful for Dallas. It's a growing city, a lot of opportunity, and yeah, there's a lot of alignment. And I think for anyone that is listening about career stuff, especially if you do sales, you'll get to that layer in your career where it's not really about what you're doing anymore. It's who you're doing it with. You can go do sales at any company. And so as you're going through an interview process, you've got to evaluate the people, the company, the track record, and where they're projected to be. And that was kind of a step I took of just evaluating smaller companies of what in the marketplace is going to grow. And so, for example, I got to this company and there were 6 sales reps I was managing. And now I'll be at 21 direct reports in April. So a ton of growth,
Hell
ton of
yeah. Let's
scalability,
go.
and yeah, I think whether it's paintball, marriage, career, you should be seeking growth and
Mhm.
looking at any opportunity possible to sink your teeth into. So yeah,
Yep.
that's the name of the game right now.
That's it. And one of my favorite slogans is kind of like everything is everything. So just like we see you calculating out there on the paintball field, dropping the hammer, making the moves, evaluating the competition, and the same thing is going on. You're definitely doing that in your work life and obviously crushing it. So congrats on all that, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, it definitely came from humble beginnings, and so whether it was paintball, sports, yeah, jobs, relationships, just really trying to be the best version of myself. And we were kind of joking about that earlier, but a lot of people will say, are you the same way at work or the same way with your wife's parents, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, yeah, you need to be the same person no matter what room you're in. I will say I am a talker. And so I made the joke the other day. I forget who I was talking to, but I said, "Yeah, I speak English and I speak, and I trash talk. So call me bilingual." But
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, life of the party. I will say in different environments, though, there are times where maybe I speak a little bit less just to kind of get a read on the room. And so I
Hmm.
think that's what a lot of people go through. Even big name players, when they go to a new team, they may be a little bit quieter up front just to kind of get an understanding of the current culture, current
Hmm.
mindset, digest that, and then make recommendations. Therefore, there are no assumptions. And so I'm similar to I'm similar to that with a company. I may be a little quieter the first, 30, 60 days, but once I get a read of everything and know what I can and can't say, what I can and can't do, then they
Hmm.
really get the full version of Clint Johnson.
There we go. It's like a frat house in there. Is it crazy at your job?
Yeah, it's comical. Got a lot of good reps here, but when I first got here, the floor space, so behind this wall is massive. It can seat like 45 advisors, and we had
Damn.
6. And so when I got here, I made the joke of, man, this place sounds like a library. It needs to sound like a locker room. And so I've had a big culture change at this company
Nice.
and really brought some life into it. We've
Hmm.
got a ton of fun. You could be on a sales call and get hit with like a Nerf ball in the back of your head. You're just like, what is going on?
Trying
And
to
so
focus
there's a
here.
lot of pranks. Yeah, there's one guy, one of my top sales reps. He bought this bag of, I don't know, probably 500 fake roaches,
Oh
and he
no.
notoriously puts them in like in people's notepads or like in their coffee cup. It's just like one-off stuff, but again, I appreciate those things, and it's the same thing with
Community.
paintball teams. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
right?
with paintball
Like,
teams, it's
yeah,
you gotta
culture.
enjoy who you're with. And at our company, when we're hiring people, I tell everyone the same thing. If you're gonna spend more time with me than your spouse,
Yeah.
so if we're not connecting and we're not seeing eye to eye and we both don't have a full understanding of the role and how you're measured, we can end the discussion now. And it's the
Hmm.
same thing. Like our weekends, we spend our weekends more with teammates and coaches than our spouse or family, you name it. And that's a big part of, the flow state for all these things is, again, it's not always what you're doing, but who you're doing it with. Massive variable in all areas of life.
100%, dude. You couldn't have said it any better. Again, it comes back to culture in the environment, right? Like
Mhm.
in the workplace, if you have a group of individuals that don't like one another, you're not really working for one another. You're not going to be able to achieve the common goal of the company. But if it's
Yeah.
fun and you show up to work and you're excited to be there, you enjoy the people around you, you're way more likely to go above and beyond. You're way more likely to stay a little later so that you can close that deal, rather than saying, screw this place, I'm out. I'm clocking out, even though I like, if I stayed 5 more minutes, I could probably close this deal. No, you're out. You don't care. You don't care about the,
Yeah.
how everybody else is doing. That is such an important part. And of course, one of the biggest parts in paintball is the culture,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great. I forget, man, I forget which book or podcast or whatever. It all just kind of bounces around in my head at different times. But there's a saying, and you guys have probably heard it, and I'll use it with a lot of new hires or sales reps. The difference of being either a thermostat or a thermometer, and the thermostat is going to create the temperature. The thermometer is going to read it. And so, on any organization, on any team, you've got that person who's the thermostat. They're going to set
Mm-hmm.
the level. And then you've got people who are more of the thermometer. They're going to read out the room and kind of match the energy. And there's a healthy balance of that in any organization because someone's got to take initiative and create a standard. And that is always the most refreshing thing to me, more in the corporate world where I see it day to day. But when a new hire comes in, and for example, let's say you're measuring a KPI as call volume, and they do more calls than anybody. And then the next 90 days, that's like a new standard because that person
Mm-hmm.
is outperforming everybody. And you say, hey, this is a minimum performance standard. But
Mm,
it took that new person to come in and be that thermostat and
mhm,
set that
mhm.
bar. And then everyone else kind of transitions to it. And so, yeah, I love that topic of, hey, if you had to define yourself, would you say you're more of a thermostat or a thermometer? And I've had a lot of people say, man, honestly, I'm more of the thermometer. I'm going to read the room and I'm a chameleon and I'll blend in and I'll match efforts, but I may not be the one to be a catalyst and set the
Sure.
standard.
Like
And
type
that's
A and
okay.
type B.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You're
It's
right. You
been
need a good blend of both.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like, yeah, anything in the
And
world.
I'm
It's
I'm sorry, what is it that the company sells? What do you guys do?
Yeah,
Say
so
again?
concierge business. So think of all your utilities. So think about when you move, what you're responsible for, the basics,
Sure.
electricity, water, gas, etc. And then really where we maximize the customer experience is the additional things, internet subscriptions, TV, home security, home water filtration. So basically anything you're going to be
Oh,
establishing
it's a one-stop
service-wise
shop.
at a move-in. Exactly. Yep.
Yo, I don't know if we even have that in San Diego. Like when moving is a
No,
pain in the butt
California.
yeah, it's a pain in
Yeah,
the
you
ass. You
guys
can't
have a
do it.
lot of regulated services where you don't get to shop for electricity. You're just told, hey, it's this provider in the area. Where
Electricity for
Texas,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
Texas is deregulated. So depending where you live, you can shop provider. So think of it like a gas station. The product's pretty much the same. You're getting unleaded. But if you're at a four-corner stop and there's a gas station at each corner, you're just looking at which one's cheapest per gallon. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of how
Yeah.
electricity works. You and your neighbor don't. No one has better electricity. No one's bragging on it. But the
Yeah.
flex is I pay this, you pay that. And that
Yeah.
gives
I'm
you
just
the power to
speaking
choose.
to like the convenience of being able to go to one place that gets you all of these services. That's like what you guys do. It's
Oh,
like a
totally.
full bundle
Yep.
thing. Yeah, that's badass. I mean, you obviously got to get my SDG&E, my water, the
Yep.
trash, the this, the that, the other, the internet, and it's like, honestly, it's just a lot to deal with. I would love to have a
Mhm.
company that I could just pay you once a month and that's all my bills. All my bills are covered.
Right.
That would be just, yeah. People pay for convenience,
Simplification.
man. Yeah, exactly. People will pay for it. All right,
Yeah, very
cool.
real.
Epic.
Yeah, Texas is
All right.
booming too. Is that for business and residential, everything?
So we do only residential current state,
Mm-hmm.
but we are nationwide. So we've got moves all throughout the US, so helping people. But for the category of electricity, we only do enrollments in the state of Texas,
Mm.
with it being deregulated. But
Yeah.
yeah, we've got customers all throughout the US that we service. And so I know the company started, it was Texas-based company, Texas-based leads, but yeah, now we've got nationwide moves. And so the business has grown dramatically. And it's been really cool to be a part of that. It's definitely stretched my capacity on my roles and responsibilities. I report directly to the C-suite, and so
Mm.
it's just yeah, shined a lot of light on both my strengths and my weaknesses in the corporate world. And so grateful for all those things. You have to be, right? If you're not getting
Straight up, yeah.
challenged in any area, you're in the wrong room. And so
Mhm.
yeah, very appreciative of that.
Yeah, shout out to the squad over there. Everybody's working hard. And want to know your first experience with paintball. You know, when did this all become something that you wanted to pursue? Kind of take us down your was it birthday party? It was the birthday, right?
No, it
No,
wasn't.
I was just saying Clint's
It
not
wasn't
he's
the
not a birthday
exposure.
party guy.
Yeah, my
It
family
was
never
a
celebrated
business.
my
It was
birthday.
a business. It was a sales team business
Yeah.
adventure.
Right, company outing. It was my
Company
father's
outing.
company outing. And no, yeah, it's always cool getting an understanding of how people got exposed to paintball,
Mhm.
because it is so different. And for me, so Texas, born and raised, not a lot of people can say that nowadays. Everyone's moving to Texas, it feels like, especially the main areas, the Dallas, Austin, Houston areas.
Yeah. It's
Um,
been crazy the influx that you guys have seen in Texas.
Yeah, I think I just saw a stat the other day. Since 2020, we've had 560,000 moves just to Dallas,
Wow.
and so yeah, it's
Damn.
growing like a wildfire. But nonetheless, born and raised, so typical Texas boy. Spent most times outdoors, played a lot of competitive sports growing up, and so something if I look at my hobbies and interests today, it's camping, hunting, fishing, shooting firearms, playing paintball. But nonetheless, was super blessed. One of my parents' best friends from high school had a bunch of property in South Texas. So roughly 500 acres, and hunting in South Texas is absolutely beautiful. And so as a kid, didn't really know what I had access to. Now that I've grown older and a little bit wiser, but nonetheless, we used to hunt every year. And so if you're a parent and you've got kids, you understand every year you take your kids hunting, you've got to buy them new gear because they're outgrowing their jeans, their boots,
Mhm.
etc. And you guys are probably familiar with the franchise Bass Pro Shop or
Oh yeah.
Cabela's, these outdoor
Mhm,
stores.
mhm.
And so it was always an annual visit in the fall to, go. My parents, myself, I've got an older brother who's 3 years older. So very close in age. So hobbies and interests. The whole family, we did it. We spent most weekends, like I said, camping, hiking, hunting, all the things. And so every year, annually near fall time, we'd go to Bass Pro, get new gear, mainly what you're wearing. And so, yeah, one of those years we got there, and kind of perpendicular to the hunting section, there was paintball and airsoft stuff. And I grew up outside of city limits in a city called McKinney. And then next to our property was Corps of Engineer property. And so it's kind of a floodplain, so woods. So a lot of people would dove hunt out there, ride four-wheelers, etc. And so, yeah, we're just buying hunting gear, and we see the paintball section. And I'm pretty sure the first marker I had, I want to say it was called a JT Triad. There was no like foregrip. It was just like the stainless
Yeah.
steel,
Yeah.
macro line. It came in the plastic outline with the goggle, the
It
gun.
freezes
You had
your
to get,
hands freeze up, they get cold from all
yeah,
the CO2.
exactly. It had like the plastic vertical part for the feed neck that like attached
Yeah.
to the gun, and the loader attached to it, etc. So we get a couple kits nonetheless, with the thought process of, hey, we can do this on our property, just have some fun. Pretty much it was more like a dual setup where it would be either myself against my dad or my brother against my dad. We had a bunch of big pecan trees on our property. They're
Nice.
2 to 3 feet wide, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so it was more of a Western duel where we'd be, 20 yards from each other behind a tree and say, go and step out and gunfight. And what really encouraged me is I had a great father figure. He's still alive, still great, but a great father figure with an awesome imagination. And so,
Mhm.
I remember growing up being in the living room and my dad beating me up with like a pool noodle, just like little things like that. But we just made fun out of nothing. And
Yeah.
so when we got to paintball, played a bunch of sports, and my dad would always beat me at everything. And so we get these markers and we're setting everything up. And then once my dad starts shooting this thing, it's like, oh, these are like legit projectiles. This isn't, I don't know if this is an ideal scenario with these young boys. This is borderline legal,
So how
Um,
old how old are you?
Yeah.
I think I was less than 10, honestly. And if that's a felony, delete it.
No,
But no,
you're
That's a
it's,
felony.
I think I was around 10, honestly, if I remember correctly. I was
yeah.
super young.
That's a
But we're ripping these boxes open, these cases, and my dad says, "Hey, we're gonna play, but no one's allowed to cry. And so if you get shot,
That's the
don't drop
rule.
on the ground. And verbatim, he says, don't
Yeah.
flop like a fish out of water. That's what my dad tells us, right? This is like the rah-rah before the duel.
What a
And so
guy, man.
nonetheless,
Yeah.
yeah, he's legit. And so we're
That's
like camoed out. We got BDUs on, and we bought some chest protectors as well. And my dad at that point, I want to say, was in his mid-30s, if I'm not mistaken. And so he had a little bit of a gut on him, a little bit of a belly. And I just remember so much adrenaline. I'm shaking, and he says, "Go." And I think I cheated him, honestly. Like, you know how it is on some of those snap shooting drills. You're like, you already see the target. You're not even snapping
Yeah.
out yet. So I'm already like posted up, and he like does a 180, comes out. I shoot a couple balls, and I shoot my dad right in the gut under his
Oh,
chest protector. My dad then proceeds to drop his marker, grab his gut, fall on the ground, and flop like a fish out of water. And it was just an instant dopamine hit of, oh, first thing I've beat my dad at. I shot
yeah.
him. This is crazy. And so really that was my first exposure to paintball. I think we shot maybe a bag of paint at that time. Because again, you have no understanding of like how many rounds you're going to shoot, how many rounds go in a
Mhm.
loader, etc. And so yeah, at that point I was hooked. It was a good time. And nothing really happened after that. What we would do is for family reunions, my family always hosted. So we did 4th of July at our house. We had a pool. We'd shoot a bunch of fireworks. And so paintball became this family activity where for family, reunions, etc., all the guys would play. And then my dad grew up near a lake in the northwest portion of Dallas, and they would grow up. They had like M1 carbines, and they would shoot like
Yeah.
22 rounds at just like targets in the woods, and they'd bring tuna cans and like live off tuna for a couple days on the weekends, just straight Vietnam reenactments, pretty much as kids growing up in the woods. So my dad had a very tactical kind of military interest. And so we wore all camo when we played. And then what we did, since we were on a couple acres, we had driving lawnmowers. So then my dad, just very skillful with his hands, we built metal frames that we welded to a driving lawnmower. And then we built these shells out of plywood that looked like tanks. And so one was like a turret, like full on turret. One person would drive, one person's like in this turret, big long
What?
PVC pipe cannon that you'd put your barrel in that you were shooting through. And
No.
so we played like military warfare on our property with like 5-on-5s. Enough family members that wanted to play. And so we had like
Hold
A-frames,
on, hold on. You had a
run it
tank?
back, run it
You
back.
had
We
you
had two
had a,
tanks.
you had 2 tanks?
I'm going to send you guys photos so you know this is real.
All right,
They're
before
epic.
you go any further,
Yeah.
yes, we need photos. You got to send those like
Could have
ASAP.
posted that up here yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, let
and
me see if
then
I can find these. But yeah, we'll
Oh
keep it
hell
going.
yeah! If you can, we could pull it up.
we're
Yeah,
coming
let me
up.
see.
We're coming
Yeah.
up on 300 episodes. This is by far the most original story we've ever heard of, like
Oh, I've got
introduction to
some
paintball.
photos.
This is crazy.
Where am I sending these? Where do you guys want these?
Send it back to my email.
The email? Okay, sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll run this. We'll get them up
All
for the
right.
people. We'll post it in the Discord as well.
Marcelo
okay,
Margot at hotmail.com.
Exactly. Yeah, let me get this running. I'll get these blasted over while I'm talking.
All right, so we
Oh,
got
hell
we
yeah,
got
that's
tanks,
incredible.
and the family is just going at it. Y'all love paintball. It's just become a family affair at the household. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, it was epic. Like I said, my childhood, we did not have a ton of money, but my parents absolutely maximized every opportunity to create experiences for us. And as I've grown up and realized, man, money is a tough part of our lives. You really are sacrificing time for money. And it's just mad respect to my parents for all the opportunities they created. And it gave me the passion for paintball. But nonetheless, so we'd play with tanks, we'd drive around. We had A-frames that we would have that we just set plywood up against to create barriers. It was insane.
Damn.
Let me go back to Marcelo's email here. Let me get these blasted over. People are like, show me the Carfax.
Yeah,
Let me see the photos.
Let's see the Carfax.
We'll have these posted up on the YouTube. If you haven't already, go subscribe to the PTG show over on YouTube. And I know a lot of people enjoy listening to it. But we got a bunch of great video content over there as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sick. I just blasted those. You guys are you're gonna laugh, man. It's epic. And you'll see I'm so young in these photos, which is wild to think about paintball at that time. So nonetheless, what's funny is there was no windows. There were cutouts in the tank, so you could see, you had visibility. And so we used to have a rule, hey, no shooting the drivers. And that rule was never upheld. I just remember hiding, ripping these view-letter triads, just like smoking whoever was driving the tanks. And so, yeah, that was paintball. So it wasn't like a weekend. We weren't weekend warriors. This was maybe we played once a quarter, couple times a year, you name it. And so then early 2000s, I want to say it was 2004, 2005, around that timeline when Oliver made the big dynamic run through against the Naughty Dogs. It was on ESPN, NPPL 7-man at that time. So I came home from school. I watched that. Somewhat familiar with paintball, more of the game, not the sport. We've talked about that. And that's where YouTube started getting popular. So I remember just YouTubing like paintball compilation videos and just seeing these tournament dudes with like rock music and like angry white guy music. I'm like, what is this? Looks insane. And so then started Googling fields and found a local field at that time. It was called Fort Paintball, is where I grew up. It's where I played all my paintball weekends at. That's now called Giant Party Sports, where we played you guys for that mock event up in Murphy, Texas. So that was my old stomping grounds. There was no tournament fields back then when I was going there. It was all concept fields, walk-on fields. And so once I got into middle school, had a couple friends I'd go play paintball with pretty religiously. I remember watching the Smart Park Championships. Order those on DVD actually, and all the commercials within that platform were about the Smart Parts Ion and the Epiphany. And so got a tournament gun, Smart Parts Ion for a birthday.
That was the game changer at that time. That was like the game changing marker for sure.
It was a game changer. And
all right, talk about game changer.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Real quick, we're pulling up the first one. Yo, look at this photo. This is incredible. Like, what is that? Like a golf cart transformed into
it's a riding lawnmower. That's what we used to mow our lawns with, man.
Wow,
incredible.
I drove before any of my friends, I'll tell you that. But this thing had like an oval door on the back, and you could open it up and you could load up a couple bodies in there.
So hold on, the driver
gears too quick, it'd pop a wheelie. Oh
shit! The driver's head is just sticking out like this.
There's no window.
This is you, right?
No, but I'm just saying because they would. He said he would shoot the driver in their head. Just their melon is sticking up over the top of this thing.
We didn't have microfibers back then. You're like wiping it off with your
blind
hand.
Driver.
Epic.
That's hilarious. This is so sweet. Let's see.
Professional. That looks good.
There's
looks one
legit.
With the turret that is insane. One that has like a turret on the top.
Let me pull it up.
I think we
real
got
quick.
that one too. This looks amazing. Actually, I was not expecting the caliber of.
My dad's like, a savage, man. Oh, that's both. That's both on the battleground right there.
We got the units out here. Damn.
Oh,
peep the YouTube.
Let's see.
Serious business
right now.
Sheesh.
Look at this.
That's awesome. I think that might be my dad. I don't know. That might be me popping top in the tank on the left. That's how I roll.
I mean, these tanks are official. Send these to the U.S. military. These are legit. They're getting sent overseas right now.
Yeah, as you can see, that's a water cooler holding up a circular plywood. It's like we just made it work. Like there was we had no concept of tournament paintball. We had barn 10 everywhere. And when you're 10 hiding behind barn 10 getting shot, you're absolutely terrified. You're more scared than the kids in Monsters Inc. I mean, it's crazy, dude.
No wonder you just do backflips through the field now. You don't care at all.
That's the inside of the carrier. So that's one that doesn't have the turret on the top. But that's like what it looks like. But yeah, that's a straight up driving lawnmower. We put some fake gauges in there that look like an airplane. I mean, we just made it happen.
Dude, that's phenomenal, man. Y'all are crushing it out there. That without a doubt, you hold unless somebody comes up with a better introduction to paintball story, you have the title. This is unreal.
That's how it all started. So
that's a paintball purist.
Yeah. So and to echo that, what happened is we'd go to the stores and see like Splat Magazine, Paintball to Extremes. And so at that point, then what we got exposed to was D-Day, these big scenarios. So my brother, my dad, they had no interest in tournament paintball, but D-Day was always, hey, we're going to go play that. We're going to go play that. We never did. Spoiler alert. But that was where kind of the interest really came from was, holy cow, this is kind of military simulation or just reenactment, however you want to define it for your first exposure to paintball. So nonetheless, that's how it all got started. Super grateful for those
Love it.
experiences with my dad, family, just had the best summers. And so then again, early 2000s, paintball gets exposed again, more on the tournament side of it, and was so addicted. I played all the sports growing up, football, soccer, all the things,
Mm-hmm.
and they were great. But what really caught my interest about paintball is it wasn't age group related. You could go play
Yeah.
with anybody at any age. And so, started watching on ESPN, dove on YouTube, would watch all the DVDs as I got older, Dirter Progression, Contract Killers 2, all the things, and just got really exposed to the speed of the game.
Mm.
And that's where I would buy all the paintball magazines. I remember ripping out the pages. My whole wall in my bedroom
Yeah.
was just taped from magazines, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna play on that. I used to gear up in my bedroom, Superman dive, use my bed like a snake beam, and I really and I think not a lot of players. I don't think enough young players do this today, but I forget who said it to me. And they said, hey, just find out who you like watching and go duplicate what you see, kind of mentality. And so when I got into paintball, the tournament side of paintball early on, I would only play a few times a year because the financial side of it. But every birthday as I got older, middle school, I was like, hey, I want to have a birthday, like paintball party, invite all my friends and just play as much as we can like that day. Like, let's max it out. And so I started getting my own gear. And that was back when I would watch guys like Angel Fergoza was a big one.
The God.
Alice was a big
Yeah.
one. Brandon Short, of just these like small, fast snake guys that would get in the snake, do work. And that was me. I was always the fastest kid in soccer. I did track and cross country. So I had speed. And when I first got into paintball, that was really my biggest strength. I had none of the mechanics. I had no mindset on what to do when, but the snake beams were a lot bigger in the
Yeah.
2000s. And so when you were a young kid, if you could make the snake off the break, I mean, you could practically duck walk the whole snake and stay alive and shoot at people. And I think part of that was I was still very timid and intimidated by the game, borderline scared, where I could get to a spot and hide really well and stay alive from the survivability aspect. And then as my confidence grew and I watched more videos of guys bunkering each other, just understanding why they made the move and what that looked like. And then, man, it was blood in the water. I played every weekend to try to bunker more and more people. And it was, you kind of identify in life, like, what are those dopamine hits, right?
Oh, yeah.
If it's a basketball player, it's like those perfect shots. You just hear the crack of the net, right? When the ball goes through, whatever it is. And for me, it was bunkering people. It was just getting to where they're looking one way and you just have their hold back. And paintball kind of took off. We played a couple local tournaments, some buddies of mine from high school early on. And I think it was around 2009, I was getting pretty repetitive in paintball weekends going out to the field. And so Fort Paintball, aka Giant Party Sports up in Murphy, I got a job there as a ref. And how it worked is if you refed, it covered your entry. So I would ref on Saturday and that would cover my entry for Sunday. And then the money I got paid for refing, that's how I'd buy paint. And man, I was that kid that would play walk-ons. And then when everyone's walking back, I'd like hide on the field and then go to all the bunkers where people reloaded. And I'm putting all their paintballs in my loader and I'm like rolling. I'm like, okay, this is a good paintball. It's not dirty. And that's how I was able to play all day, because financially we got paid, I think, $60 a day to ref. And that was one case of paint.
A case back then was like $80. Yeah.
Yeah. We're paying $60 for Spectrum.
Yeah.
Not ideal. Couldn't hit the side of a barn. But so, that was my thing every weekend, just out in the Texas heat, just making it work. Doing
How old were
I
you when
could.
you got this job?
That was 15. Yeah, I was
15.
15. Because at that timeline, I had a few friends who did start driving, so we would carpool. We were all reffing at that time, and we built our own little local team called Swag Surfers.
Hey, let them know.
We were such a joke. That's when Vicious and DSS were getting kind of some hype with the long sleeves.
Yeah,
so
real quick, Clint, what year is this? Like, how old are you now?
Right now, 31. I don't
31.
say age, I say level. So I'm level 31 currently. At that point, I was level 15. So that was like 2009, I believe.
Okay, got it.
I was freshman in high school. And so, yeah, Vicious and DSS had their long sleeves going. So we just copied that. We got purple long sleeves with white font. We had no sponsors, but we put like Empire paintball in the sleeves, RPS paintballs, and just to look legit, right? We
Yeah.
played like one local tournament in Texas. There was, man, at that time, 2009, not a good time for the economy.
Yeah.
And so the only real tournaments we had were called charity events. So either it was like a canned food drive or what have you. You brought a bunch of stuff to donate. It covered your entry, and prizes were just small trophies. There was no money, no nothing, barely even on a tournament field. And so when I see kids today that are playing like USXBL, WCPPL on turf with refs and paint trucks, I hate them. I absolutely hate the new generation, but I love it because they are getting exposed to paintball and it's a catalyst to their growth.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, so that's what 2009 looked like when I started getting my own gear, playing on the weekends.
All right,
So
before
then,
you go any further, I want to highlight a couple things
Yeah.
here because what I think the listeners need to understand if you're trying to go pro, if you want to be successful at anything you do, the way that you visualized the moments that you've been able to attain now happened decades ago. You know, it happened a long time ago, and it's from that passion, that visualization, being a youngster, ripping out pages out of the magazine, going above and beyond, watching the content, being completely obsessed with the entire process of paintball, of like your gear, how you can approach, you know, going out there and being the best on the side that you wanted to play, looking at the players. All of these things are a derivative of why you've been able to become successful in this game and be on the pro field and be stunting out there and doing your damn thing. You know what I mean? And you've been crushing it. And it's just something that everybody needs to understand. It doesn't happen overnight. This takes a long, long time and a lot of visualization. But another cool thing that you talked about was the age. Like, you have the potential through this sport, regardless of, you know, what age you are, no matter the age, to do whatever you want in paintball. You really can. And it's one of those miraculous things. It's one of those crazy games where it's not like the traditional sports where you need a specific body style or you've got to be this or that. You can do it no matter what. If you want to be successful, it's up to you how far you want to take it. And it's really cool to see all that be the foundation of what you've become today, you know?
Yeah. No, it's well said. Yeah, I think the elevator pitch of that is you materialize what you visualize, right?
That's
And
it.
yeah, I'm a big component of that. And I will say, you know, even as an adult, you've got to really have an understanding of what environments you put yourself into and who you allow in your circle. And I did realize that very early on. And it's unfortunate in today's world, but the youth, especially the middle school and high school timeline of where you really start to identify your hobbies, your interests, and kind of your crew. There was a lot of distractions at my age, but technology has changed so much as well. There are more distractions for kids who are in middle school and
Mm-hmm.
high school. And so I will say you're going to have a lot of things come, you know, a lot of opportunities, both good and bad. And you've got to have a level of discernment and choose those paths because, again, I played paintball with a lot of friends in middle school and high school. And what separated us, wasn't necessarily the capability of playing paintball. I think the fork in the road is someone capable? And I think a lot of people are capable, but the other side of it is their willingness. So you're
100%.
capable to go far, but are
Yeah.
you willing to do it day in, day out, weekend out, you name it, and stay true to it? And that is the biggest separator. I've had friends who were actually decent at paintball, but they let the distractions come into it, whether it's girls, drugs, jobs, family, etc. Fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's more excuses in the world than there are people. But I think that's what led to, you know, quote unquote, my success. That's a weird way to say it. But in
Mm-hmm.
paintball, where I've gotten to is realizing, man, I like this. I want to go far in this. I've got to put in the time and the energy. And it's not always money is the factor. It is more of our willingness to go do something. And that's what I was willing to do was go out to the field. And most times everyone had better gear than me. They had matching gear and they had a budget to shoot multiple cases of paint, all the things. And I didn't let that dictate, you know, my reps, my experience, and my attitude towards all of it. I just try to go out there and play as much as I could. And I enjoyed all of it. There are some things I regret. I was that kid that couldn't afford gear, so I didn't have the knee pads and elbow pads and all those things. I think if I could go back, I would prioritize the pieces of gear I got
That
in
protect your
order.
body. So that
Yeah,
when you get to level
exactly.
31, it doesn't feel like level 45.
Exactly. Yeah, running in
You know,
quicksand. What's going
I
on?
want to touch on that real quick because what you just said is so true, man. And actually, I just got back from Houston last night. We were out there. We had the Team USA tryouts for the U16 and U19 squad, and I just want to say, I mean, we had 35 players that were phenomenal. Each and every one of them honestly deserves a spot. I believe we could probably take any selection of them and probably win. But unfortunately, there's a limited amount of roster spots, so very difficult process. But seeing the talent and the future of the sport each year, it's getting better and better. And the youth is getting, we're having an abundance of these phenomenal players, and not just phenomenal players, but their character is so great. Like I really enjoy being around these kids. And Clint, you know, a few of them are in Texas. I'm sure you know some of them that were out there, but they're amazing individuals. And so people will watch them play and they say to me, you know, oh, he's for sure going to be the next, or she is actually even. We had the
Yep.
first female, shout out to Hadley. She's the first female trying out
Yeah.
for the Team USA U16 squad. She did very well.
Let's go.
But this player could be the next best player in the world. And I always have to preface it because I've had so many kids come up where exactly that. Well, let's see if they get through high school and girlfriends or boyfriends and drugs and parties and distractions. If they get
Yep.
through that, then yes, they can. They have all of everything required, the talent, the skills, the drive right now. But I've just seen it so many times where you get
Yeah.
distracted, and that's the only thing that can keep you from really attaining or achieving your goals. And I assume that's with anything, right? But that's such an
Yep.
important part about paintball. There's been so many kids that have you know come up and that I've coached and worked with and believed in, and you know a lot of them don't play anymore. We all grew up with people that were really good. They were probably better than all three of us here,
Yeah.
and they thought they were going to go pro, but they got distracted, and then we ended up being the ones that you know achieved that goal. You know, and it's just the reality of it. And you're so right. It is the distraction, and there's so much more of it now than ever. Which is why I think paintball or any sport or like commitment to, I think sports are, you know, really are really special. You know, it gives you something to kind of latch onto. I know it did for me. Sounds like it did for you, Clint. I know it did for Tyler. Gives you something to latch onto and dedicate yourself to avoid those distractions. And there were times where
Yeah.
I slipped down that path and I was going down those, you know, and exploring the distractions. And then I'm like, oh, whoa, I got to come back because I'm not going to achieve my goal if I continue down this path. And so paintball was always kind of the North Star, which is really great. But like, that's
Yeah.
always the thing. Yeah. Can they get through those? If they can get
Yeah.
through those, every single kid that was at the Team USA tryout, every single one of them will be a professional paintball player. I believe that if they stay committed and are on the, you know, road they're on, and they can eliminate and you know, survive the distractions and all those things, then they will achieve
Yeah.
those goals. But that is always the defining thing, you know?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It is discouraging when you see that local player making progress and then you stop seeing him and you
Yeah.
start asking questions and you're like, ah,
Mm,
man, wrong place,
mm.
wrong time, you name it. How I think about it, honestly, is is the progression in paintball. It's baking the cake, and the cake's going to take 25 minutes. And the distractions in life is when you want to open up the oven and see how the cake is doing. You just got to close the door and let it ride. The second the door keeps opening, when you open that door, you're not going to get the completed project that you knew was a desired outcome, but you got away from just being patient and riding through it and being intentional. And yeah, it is unfortunate when you see it. And one thing that's really cool, big shout out to Mark Johnson. I'm getting to that part of my story, but he's been a catalyst to my growth and opportunity. And one thing he's doing at his field at Giant Party out in Murphy is this introduction to tournament paintball, where you do have the kid or the father
Saw
and
this,
son who
yeah.
come out and they play recreational, and you see them, they go play walk-ons, but then they hear the tournament ruckus and they're kind of spectating, like, what's going on over here? How do I even get involved? And so we've done a couple of these courses and we have more coming, but it's the most elementary tier of tournament paintball, but slowing down and educating. And there was a couple kids that were out there who were both 11. And I mean, it blew my mind because they had their own gear. And when I was that young, you bought adult smalls and just rolled the legs up. There was no youth paintball gear available. Like I said, these kids have it way better.
Mm.
But he played his first tournament. One of them, his name's Ty, this young kid. He played USXBL last weekend. I think he played a 3-man and they won the event.
Nice.
And I saw him at the field this weekend, and he like jumps in later in the day. I was like, Ty, what's up, man? And we were chatting, and I try to keep extra jerseys in my gear bag. And so I saw him like, hey, dude, let's get a quick video. Like, I owe you a jersey. Like, shout out to coming to the course. Awesome job at the tournament. And that has been the most refreshing piece about tournament paintball, because none of that existed when I got into paintball. One, there was no local pros willing to help you. That was non-existent. There also wasn't even pro teams where I was at. There wasn't even turf fields. There was no tournament fields. Like, there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. And so that's what's so cool to me, is to invest in those kids and open up the door to conversation and building a relationship and investing in them and having those repeat kids come out. Because I know if I was 11 when I got into tournament paintball and I had the access and the resource of a Mark Johnson at that age, it'd be even a different story for where I'm at current state. And so, yeah, I love that. That's on off weekends. I do try to get to the field and just see who's there. Like, what's the next wave look like?
Yeah.
Who can I invest to? And what's crazy about that topic, whether they're 11, 15, or 35, the gate in which people are willing to receive information and coaching is massive. You've got a young kid or older adult who's willing to have a conversation, then you've got the classic know-it-alls. And that's what continues to blow my mind, of just, you try to help people and they don't want it. And that is the reality of the world we live in. Not everybody wants help, even though the ones who need it the most typically don't want it. But that's what always blows my mind, when you try to like take your time out of your drill day. That's like, you're already gone every weekend. Now you're at your local field and this person doesn't want to listen. So that's one thing I've realized, in the first 30 seconds, how they receive the information will dictate if I continue to,
Of
have a
course.
conversation with them.
Yeah.
But
No,
nonetheless,
I love
yeah,
the
go ahead.
work that they are doing out there at the park, and congratulations to Mark and everybody that made that all happen, because they're doing a phenomenal job. And what I love the most is the funnel that's being created from the recreational side to the tournament side. I think that we really, really have to double, triple down on growing the rec side. And even, like, I've been thinking, we need to have like a recreational championship. There needs to be like rec teams that maybe once a year they go to a common spot and they play on this huge field, and there's a recreational championship for your local park. Like, you in your local park, you have a bunch of rec players, you can squab up with someone from across the nation, and we got to grow the rec side and make the rec side amazing. And then by osmosis, you're going to get a ton of turnover of players heading into tournament paintball, especially when they see Marcelo on that video that they play in the morning time when they bring it to the field. And he's like, hey, have fun out there. And after this, let's see you on the tournament side. It's a little bit quicker, a little bit crazier, but you're going to have so much fun regardless, And we're actually working on curating this year, Marcelo. We are going to make a video that we are going to give for free to all the fields across the country and the world to help get them to facilitate players from rec paintball, into tournament paintball, to show them this is the next chapter for you. But we've got to really emphasize growing that funnel, and it starts from the rec side. So I love that they're doing that out there. And I know that there's a ton of fields across the country and the world that are doing that, but we really got to triple down on all that kind of movement to keep growing our tournament side and keep it healthy. Thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for the tremendous support with the PTG show. If you are enjoying these episodes and want to help with the progress and development of this program and connect with like-minded, hungry paintball players, then head on over to ptgpodcast.com, click the orange Patreon link, and become a member of the PTG World Discord chat room. And now back to the show.
Yeah, I strongly agree with that. And what's cool is, I think when you do give, it brings so much more purpose to your life than taking. And paintball, I think, has been just in a season of take. What can I get out of it? Oh, I've played a pro tournament and I've got status. Let me do clinics. Let me charge. And it is unfortunate, but I think it's always, what can I take versus what can I give? And when people have that mindset shift, you will get financially rewarded. But just like the saying, you've got to follow before you can lead. If you start investing, you create value in the marketplace, you create value, fields see that, owners feel that, and the reward will come. But we do live in a day and age, people want to
give it all.
People have got $1 million dream with a minimum wage work ethic. And like, that's not going to get you anywhere. And so nonetheless, so we're early 2000s, 2009 comes, start playing some local tournaments, some charity events, if you will. And then 2010, I'm 16, so I can drive now. And so I can actually go get a
Oh
job.
shit, he's on the
Create
road.
some income. Yeah, we're grinding, baby. We're doing the dang thing. Anything to play paintball. So nonetheless, get a job and also double dip and work at the paintball field on the weekend. So again, Saturday, it's like I'm creating a surplus of income at a job, but I'm still leveraging Saturday to pay for paintball so I can start buying gear and play tournaments, etc. So 2010 rolls around and I've got a couple good friends. TJ Danner, I played Division II with him in 2009. One of my best friends. He's an awesome dude, very genuine teammate, one of the smallest egos in the league, not even the pro division, but in the league, and just a good human being. And so played Division II with him. And then Meter, Demetrius Ninos, he was a local guy. Him and TJ live close, so he would come to some practices. So that's where relationships started getting built that I still have today. But nonetheless, we played Dorito 2. We played Division II in 2009. On the financial side of it, being a divisional player with no real support from my parents, not a knock at them. It was an income that wasn't there to fuel paintball at that time. And so I was only able to play 2 events that year. And the first event was Chicago Badlands in 2010, where it was underwater the last year PSP was there.
Oh
And
man.
I remember we played 187 Upton Crew in Division II, and we were like the only team to beat them that year. I think they went undefeated that whole year, and they climbed the ranks, went pro.
Yeah.
And so I remember watching pro matches live. And back then, the only pro matches I watched was on Social Paintball's YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And so to like hear the horn go off and like hear the breakouts and see it was just utterly insane. It was the first time I got exposed. It was my first national tournament I was at. Whole thing was underwater. I drove there because I couldn't afford a flight, so I rode with people. It was just our whole rental van was caked in mud, smelled like manure the whole drive back to Texas. It was like 17 and a half hours, but I was in love. The competition side of it and just the overall experience. And so then I played World Cup that year. Same thing, Division II. We didn't do anything great. And so again, just creating relationships, having friends, the thought process is, hey, we're going to go play Division II again going into 2011. And that's when Texas Storm kind of got revamped and brought back into the paintball scene with Ryan Gray and Mark Johnson kind of going in together to run that operation.
That's
and so
right.
I guess like maybe Dimitri, TJ, a few other of my friends all caught wind of this tryout in the off season from 2010 to 2011. And we'd all say, hey, none of us are going to go try out. Like, we're all friends. Let's do the same thing. Everybody goes to this tryout except for me. And so they had a large pool of people. I think they brought like 20 or 30 people.
You were like, yo, what?
Yeah. So Mark Johnson, I don't even know how he got my info, but he reached out to me and said, hey, man, I was surprised to not see you out there, because we had, met at Fort Paintball a few times, because he was a local guy who was more in the tournament scene with Justice League, and then went with X Factor and played semi-pro, etc. And so he's like, man, I was kind of discouraged you weren't there, but we're having our second round, and I think you should come out. I was like, man, I appreciate the heads up. I'll figure out a way to be there. And so I go out their second tryout weekend, and I don't exactly know what the first weekend looked like, the cadence and how, what their scorecard was for how they measured people. But the second weekend was a lot of sliding diving drills. And so we did this one drill where there was basically everyone was at a snake corner, and then the line went behind it. And then one person would run and dive into the snake. And as they got to snake 1, the next person would dive into the snake. And the goal was to be under the beams, of course, but to crawl. And if you pass somebody, they had to run a lap and get back in line. And we were doing this. They're just torturing us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, challenge effing accepted. I'm about to murder these dudes. And I'm talking to you, I was passing 4 people. I would see a bunch of people in the snake. They're all going the same kind of pace, the same kind of cadence. I'd run, dive into snake 1, and just Brandon Short, kind of like the one, form on the ground that you're sliding, and this one you're just pushing. And I'm going past tagging 4 dudes, making these nerds run laps. And so we did a bunch of these drills, these sliding diving drills, getting into spots, one-on-ones. And then we ran this thing called a gauntlet, And it was such an odd drill now that I think about it. But nonetheless, it's back when there was the A versus the X up in the middle.
Yep.
And what the drill was, it was 1-on-1. You both sprinted to the A, and once you passed it, you could shoot the guy, and you didn't stop shooting. It was so weird. People ask, why do you do what you do? Because this is how I was bred, dude. And so I get in this 1-on-1. It was a former Texas Storm player. And so we're both running to the X. I beat him there. And right when I turn around, I happen to just like double gog him across the face. So I'm like, oh, he's blinded. I'm just ripping gog shots, neck shots. I start going for hands and then like the lats, right? The behind the back.
Oh yeah, it's chicken wing.
Then I start to reload and then the whistle blows and they call it. And what was crazy is whoever you ran the gauntlet with, you cleaned up and then you went to the opposing start gate and you played a generic 1-on-1. So this guy gets cleaned up, and now I'm kind of nervous. I'm like, man, I just shot the piss out of this guy. These are all adults. I'm the youngest person there, right? And so then we play the 1-on-1, and I just run right up to the A. I go into like their pen, and I like pop top, and I shoot this guy. And then it was just all-time confidence for the rest of the day. I lost most of the drills after that. All the gunfighting drills, I got smoked. The running and shooting drill. I remember one of the last rounds, my gun was pretty much running out of air. And so it's the generic drill, right? There's a back center and both guys run corner. The back center shoots at the runner shoots at the back center kind of thing. And I remember taking off and like halfway through my gun, just like blip, blip, blip. And the paintballs are barely coming out. And then I forget if it was Ryan or Mark, like, who the just went? Because they're thinking like my paint was just not good. And so I had to like justify that I was running out of air. It was comical. Like seriously, I was the worst player there mechanically sound with like the gun skills, but I was fast. I was making it to spots. I was aggressive to an extent, and I was just willing to learn. Like anytime someone spoke with me, it was yes, sir, jump, how high, all the things, right? And so I got onto the team, and they were very clear of like, hey, you're going to be that project player. You're going to come to every practice. You're going to get in as many reps as you can, but don't expect to play at the tournament. It's like, dude, I'm totally cool. I'm just here for an opportunity because I heard it was free paintball. I didn't verbalize that, but I knew that's where it was going with this team and the operations side of it. And so that right there, if I wouldn't have made that team, I don't think I would have stayed in paintball just because of the financial aspect. And I was funding it through my own money up until that point. And so since then, I haven't paid for paintball. Like it's crazy the opportunity I was given at a young age with no talent, no track record, no proven track record, no success, if you will. But I was a young, hungry, coachable kid, and they saw that in me, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And so we play the whole off season, and the first event in 2011 is Galveston, and I actually played with a Division III team at that time, I believe, a local Texas team. Because like, dude, you're not ready. No reason to even put you in the works. And that didn't discourage me at all because I knew playing with those guys, I was going to be a menace in Division III. And I ran snake off break every point. It was the one with the weird beams and the small Dorito and the snake. It was an interesting layout. But yeah, I remember running snake off break almost every point, getting my reps in. And then after that, I got with Texas Storm. So played a few years there. We won Phoenix. I think I believe that was 2011, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that was 2012. I forget at this time, but won an event, played like every point. And what was crazy about the Phoenix event is Mark Johnson actually had like a heat exhaustion right before the finals. He's sitting on the cooler and just like passes out. And so it was like next man up. Clint's going to play every point. And so, yeah, I just remember playing lights out. We played Static, I believe, the Florida team in the finals, and we won that event. And again, just kind of lit a fire under me playing with Mark, TJ Danner, just the bros. And so that continued to go on, was under their umbrella for a few years. And there was unfortunate circumstances that happened. Ryan had a field at that time in a paintball store. The field caught on fire. He pulled out a paintball. And that was a very interesting time because that's when I started playing a ton of paintball, where we were sponsored by Valken at that time. And so we were playing all the PSPs, shooting a ton of Valken paint. And then 7-man, I got introduced to Camp Pendleton Raiders, and they were a Valken team. So I got to go out there, and I remember practicing Dynasty at Camp Pendleton. And this is just where my mind was getting blown. I'm like, dude, paintball is the mecca. I remember seeing SD Mob and like the WCPPL videos and thinking, from a divisional player, They look sick. They're ag, all the terms. They've got a West Coast style because I watch DQ Films, the Palm
Yeah.
Beach Viper kind of crew, and was never really exposed to either. But now I'm in California playing paintball on turf against Dynasty. And that's where things really started to change. And I think it was the second to last year NPPL was around. And the Dynasty roster was actually fairly decent at that time still. And that's when Kyle was new to the team, I believe. There were still a bunch of big names on that team, and we played them at the Northeast Open out in Chesapeake Bay, and it went to overtime in the finals. That's when NPPL was like a 3-man overtime, and we beat Dynasty in overtime. It was epic. And that's where it just, man, the confidence and the appreciation was just overflowing of, holy cow, these were the guys I watched on YouTube and Smart Parts Championships, Brian Cole with the hat coming out of the Pro Flex, and just the squad, that I looked up to heavily, and the Oliver Langs of the world and all of that. And so then that team dies out. Texas Storm goes away.
There's no Oliver Langs of the world,
Right.
just to be clear. There's one of those motherfuckers. Oliver Lang. He to go. He to go.
The whole team, it's I agree. Just the whole team on Dynasty, like you'd play with any of those guys. If there was a 2-on-2 tournament at practice, you line up with any of them back then, you're like, we're winning.
We're winning.
We're winning. Doesn't matter. And
even still, those old heads are doing it, man.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Right. I know Ryan Greenspan, one of the first pieces of gear he bought was pads. Like it's gotta be true, man. He's still doing it. He's got good joints.
You know what's funny is he wears the thinnest knee pads. He wears like volleyball thin knee pads. I don't get it. I'm like, how do you practice in these, dude? How do you not bang your knees up? It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And he wears New Balance, so that's a dad bod thing. He's got
New Balance is legit though. No, New Balance is legit. Sponsors. Stop it. New Balance is legit.
Those are old Balance.
They're the most comfortable cleat, hands down.
So Marcelo, sounds like you're a guy that seeks comfort, man. I had you.
Function is fashion. Listen, function is fashion. That. You're only on level 31. When you get to like level 33, you'll realize like function is fashion, you know?
Yeah, I've been having sole issues, man. Plantar fasciitis makes sense. Nike
I've got these really bad bunions. So like New Balance for some of the, I'm no joke. Like my bunions are bad. And I remember one year we were sponsored by Under Armour and the cleats were so narrow. I didn't realize they were messing my feet up. The end of that season, my feet hurt for like months. It took a while to get my feet back to like not just constantly being in pain. And New Balance cleats are like some of the only ones that feel good. This last event, I did rock some Adidas, some messy cleats. They were dope. They were very comfortable. I like those. But
respect.
New Balance is legit.
Off topic. When you said that about the Under Armour cleats, it made me think. Someone just shared with me the other day, LeBron James's feet. If you haven't seen his, that's wild.
Oh, they're so disgusting.
They say it's from wearing basketball shoes. I don't know what's going on, but
that's what happens. No, that's what happens. Yeah, no joke. That's what happens. Yeah, like because think about it. Like you're especially in basketball, your foot's in this shoe, and you're constantly stopping with like forward momentum. Yeah. So the shoe's jamming up against your toes. And for all the listeners, I'm doing these hand gestures that probably aren't very explanatory, on the YouTube. But like the wall of the shoe, your toes are jamming into it, and you're just pushing against your bones. And like over time, if you're like LeBron has probably played more basketball than he hasn't in his life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like his bones are molding to that, it's wild. Yeah.
Sheesh. It is.
His feet are rocked.
Take care of your feet out there, everybody.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's the foundation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so got to play 7-man, and again, grateful for that. 7-man's not really around anymore, RIP. But I actually love 7-man. I feel like from the player I am, that's where I really started getting dynamic and identifying what was going on in the field. Because again, my perspective in 7-man is you could shoot a lot of people. If you made dynamic moves in 7-man, it was crazy what you could get away with.
That's right.
So I am grateful I got exposed to that. The game
and
was slower.
walking the fields as well was an art craft that I feel like, you had to walk 7 fields and know the cadence of how each one was going to be. And that translates really well into obviously what we do today.
Yeah. And I think 7-man exposed me as a player because again, Texas Storm was always the one in the snake. Just go shoot a couple bodies, bunker somebody, etc. 7-man, when I was on the Raiders, they kind of had their ones already developed, so they put me in a 2 and 3 role just to be the next man in the snake kind of mentality. And what that allowed me to do is shoot off the break more, kind of play blind spots, quarterback and communicate with the one back to the. And so it really helped. I'd play PSP as the one, and then I'd go play 7-man as the 2 or the 3. And so that year I got to double dip in a lot of roles, play with a lot of different players, and really identify, oh man, paintball is very simplistic. All you can do is shoot, talk, and move, but every player, it's not balanced. You've got a guy who's going to shoot really well, but doesn't communicate, and he doesn't make a bunch of aggressive moves, right? Then the flip side, you've got the guy who, does ABC, this, right, et cetera, et cetera. And so I got exposed to both, which was awesome. And so I feel like there's a lot of momentum going on in my paintball career. And then we start getting phone calls about, hey, the field burned down. We're pulling from the team. We're going to find you guys a home. And so I forget what part of the year it was, but when I was on Texas Storm, we practiced a lot up in paintball at a field called Paintball Club at Choctaw. And so some of the infamous guys would meet us up there and we'd play. And Junior Brown was, I think, just hanging out with some of the infamous guys. And we had a weekend out there. And Junior just really liked my play style, my aggressiveness, but not just being one-dimensional as a one. I could get to a spot, and if the game slowed down, I would start connecting with the body, getting the communication going, and trying to close a game. So when Texas Storm went away, Junior reached out to, I think, Mark and Ryan, was like, hey, does Clint have a home? So that's what got me to Sacramento Excessive.
Yeah.
And that time, I learned a lot as a player. I had torn my hamstring on Texas Storm and didn't really let it heal. And so the whole year with Excessive, we played out in Modesto. Tyler, you're very familiar with that field.
Yep.
And so I was out in Modesto. I used to stay at Shane Howe's place. So big shout out to Shane Howe. He housed me every weekend, would pick me up from the airport. Big fan of Shane. He's just been, dude, he's been
these
such
are my
a
people,
blessing.
man. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. All these folks.
Yeah.
And so, nonetheless, I, again, still felt like I was living the dream, flying to California, playing California paintball. I thought Texas was hot, but man, Modesto cooks too. So mad respect to those guys. Those practices weren't for the weak.
They cook all sorts of shit up there.
Man, They don't say they're, the term out there is they're not cooked, they're rotisseried. And so we're doing our thing. And I will say my year on Excessive, that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was still PSP Challengers and Champions. I believe it was the split up, right? Where it was like the tiered system.
Yeah.
And we got absolutely beat down in the Challengers division. I was playing with Excessive. There was a lot of moving parts on that roster. I was playing with a torn hamstring. And so it would just get to be healed. And then I would tear it again. And there would be a lot of, what's the term? Scar tissue. And so there'd be no elasticity in the hamstring. And I end up tearing it again over like a long practice week. And it would always be like the last point or two. And they'd be like, hey, let's last point. We're going to play. You guys hold. We're pushing. Clint, do this crazy up and over. And just, I would like tear it. And so that year was extremely humbling where we lost a lot of paintball. And then when I joke and say I've been overshot a lot, that was probably the year I got overshot the most. That's back when guns were 12.5. And so it's tad bit faster, but nonetheless, so that's fallen apart. And then I get the call in the off season from Mark Johnson again, been borderline father figure. He's been the best resource and a true catalyst to all of my growth in paintball. He's the first one I call for mindset most times than not, whether it's paintball or non-paintball related. And we've just established such a strong relationship. He was the best man at my wedding. I was the best man in his wedding. Damn. And so he reaches out because we were road dogs on Texas Storm. He's like, hey man, playing with the Outlaws. We won a pro spot. I'd love for us to get more face time. We're looking at building out our roster. What do you think? And so then I go to TMG Outlaws. And that team was pretty wild, their style of play. They had the most insane calls. It was the biggest headache ever. Shout out Jeremy Solom, but there was no structure on that team. There was no process. There was no evaluation of how practices were going. Our bunker names were presidents. So you're yelling Lincoln, Washington, Roosevelt. I'm like, dude, I don't even know who's on the $5 bill, my guy. Like, what are we doing here? And so that year was a massive headache. I think we went 2-2 most events, but I wasn't really worried about the performance of it. I was playing paintball with my friends again. Excessive was a little different, didn't really have established relationships. I'm an out-of-state guy, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're playing paintball and Outlaws, have some good points. We're having a good time. And then that's when Greg and Mark start talking of like, hey, AC Dallas, we're going to invest. These guys are doing well in pro. You guys are local. We're really trying to harness this local team to provide visibility and as much repetitions when it comes to practice and paintball, you name it. So they did a tryout right before World Cup. I believe this was like 2014, 2015 timeline, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2013. It's all a blur. But nonetheless, Mark and I go down and try out. We both make the team. So we play with AC Dallas at World Cup. And I think we got third, maybe fourth. Yeah, I think we got fourth. I think we lost to Heat in the semifinals, and then it was Heat and Dynasty in the finals where Kyle did the retreat, shot Greg Sewers on the buzzer beater, et cetera, et cetera. But so yeah, then we go to AC Dallas, and it's a complete 180. We're back with our friends. There was kind of the rivalry because in semi-pro / Division One, VCK was a big name, Texas Storm was a big name, and it was always kind of the conversation of who's better. We all knew of each other. We practiced in Houston quite a bit. And so it was cool to be all under one umbrella again because TJ had left Texas Storm to go play with VCK. They did very well in divisionals and kind of molded into AC Dallas. And so we do the tryout. We go play at World Cup. We get fourth. And what was really cool at that time was it was the first time in my career outside of Texas Storm, there was a program. Like there was a strong program, there was a cadence, there was a structure to practice. We're having in-depth conversations about breakouts, the spots, bounce shots, how to play against, clock management. Hey, if we're up, we're doing this. If we're down, we're doing this. And just the overall alignment and unity on a team. And so that was super healthy. And again, that was a big catalyst to my growth. I remember the Texas event where it was like the double cakes on the snake side. I think that was 2015. That was, I think, the first year of NXL, if I'm not mistaken, with the W, black and yellow bunkers. And I remember the first snake cake you could dive into and shoot a bounce shot off your mirror and like kill the home or something like that. And so we just got super strategic with our breakouts. We played X Factor, beat them in overtime. We had a bunch of momentum, and then we went on and played Infamous in the semis and lost to them. That's back when Damien was playing and he was crushing in the middle and playing the windows in the W and just getting shots on everybody. And I remember we played Dynasty at that event. And man, I think still today, that's one of the best matches I've ever played. And I remember, what's the guy's name? Y'all may recall, he was doing From Inside the Net, the
Brad
photographer.
Baldwin.
Yeah, Brad Baldwin. And he made a catalog, a magazine from that event. And I remember there was one point I was in that snake corner, the small cake, and like Ryan Greenspan goes to the 50 snake, and like Oliver gets behind him. I like snap Oliver out, and then I run, and I'm going down the wire, and Ryan's going to jump out. So I jump over the snake beam into this 50 Aztec and like shoot Ryan. I hit the beam, my legs go flying in the air. I take off, I shoot another body. I'm covered in paint, all rub. You know how it is. And I come in the pit, and I'm just on level 900 of, dude, we're playing Dynasty. We're about to beat him in Texas. And so there was just so many experiences like that where I really started to trust myself with the moves of, dude, instinct. If you feel it, take it. And if you miss it, it's on you. And just having that accountability. And those were some breakout events for me, and had a ton of fun there. And it was a good time. I think there was just the Jackson brothers. There was so much conversation at the end of practices, and I appreciated it, but it would get to the point where they were still in their gear and the sun's going down. And we're like, dude, we need to go home and eat dinner and shout. You guys know we're coming back tomorrow, right? Like, this is Friday. We've got play. And so there was a lot of that going on. Greg and I maybe had some different thought processes. And so I don't think I was getting tired of a good thing, but I was so over how things were going.
No, I understand what you mean, because there was many years where it was kind of rough in there, and you guys would be so close to a championship. There was many times. And then I guess that's why it's got to feel so good as we kind of move into the modern day today of you playing with this current iteration of Diesel to have the kind of cadence that you guys have right now. The family, obviously, you guys go way back. The history is deep. Everyone's working really hard, and to be where the team is today is got to be super fulfilling for you, I'd imagine.
No, totally. Yeah, I left the team. I went to X Factor. Everyone was pissed at me for that. But X Factor is winning tournaments. We practice X Factor ever since I was on Texas Storm. So I go to X Factor, get under their umbrella. Again, another growth year for me. And I was supposed to play with X Factor for 2 years. And Ryan reminds me of that every year. Shout out Ryan Brand, best hair in the game.
Yeah, Ryan.
But I really appreciate Ryan Brand. I ping him, anytime X Factor does well, I make sure to ping him. I've got mad respect for him and that team. But I go to X Factor, I take a year off. That was 2017, I believe. So take a year off. And then, yeah, I'm missing paintball big time. I'm focusing on the career because I know paintball is temporary. So I want to invest in the career because I know long term it's what's going to be best for me and my family. So take a break from paintball. But then good old Mark Johnson gives me a call. He's like, hey, man, Diesel's struggling. We're playing semi-pro, really trying to earn a pro spot. Would love to share the field with you again and bring some, wisdom, credibility to the team. All the guys like you. What do you think? And so, yeah, I go back 2019 and play semi-pro at Diesel. And it was such an interesting year because on that roster, it was Mark, myself, Mark Baginski, who goes by Ice, who's a current Diesel player.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sean Sacedo, who's on Revo, aka Baltimore Arsenal. There it is. And so that was our core four. And then we'd pick up 1 or 2 players every event. And so we win an event, have a good year. We earn the pro spot. But that's COVID year. So only played 2 tournaments. And then I take another year off. So it's like, unfinished business, got to get back to that. And so came back to Diesel last year, huge upset. But again, get the call from Mark. He's building out the roster. I'm investing in players. And yeah, there was a lot of hype around Diesel. And it's just like a balloon. The bigger it gets, the easier it is to pop. And that's exactly what we felt last year. I think there was a lot of overcomplicating things. And I think at the same time, we just, we had 1 desk we were building and we bought 4 hammers for it. We bought 4 screwdrivers, and consolidation was the best thing that happened to that roster. And I think it was interesting to see the talent we had, but there was such a disconnect and there's a lot of bodies. And so every practice, guys weren't getting the reps they were, used to really identify their role, learn the field, et cetera, et cetera. And people were just playing bad. There was a lot of things that went wrong that year, but we can't say any of that without commenting. Each player had very poor performances. And so from coaching, there was hiccups. From an organizational level, there was hiccups. From practice, there was hiccups. Play individual contribution, there was hiccups. What guys were doing outside of practice weekends during the week, massive hiccups. And so it was very humbling to have the hype, have the budget, have this roster, and go out there and crap the bed with it. And so it made some adjustments. And then this year, then last year, so that was 2 years ago. And then last year we go to the first event in Vegas and get last place. So it's like, man.
Yeah, but it was like such a brutal experience because you guys were in every single game. Like we played you guys in the prelims and you guys were so close to beating us. I feel like we kind of lucked that one out. And it felt like every one of your prelim, we had a tough bracket too, that first event, but it was like every single one of your guys' games was so close. And so then you go 0-4, but it doesn't really tell the story. It doesn't tell the story of how well you guys were playing. Like you guys would have been a dangerous Sunday team at that event. It's what I have said about Diesel for the last 3 years is like, I mean, the way they're losing these games, it's like, it just doesn't represent what they're actually capable of because they're such close matches. Even last year, losing to Impact, X Factor, 1-point games in, I think it was Chicago, like you guys have had so many of these things. I'm like, eventually it's going to click because the team was good before they made these big pickups. Now you have, some pretty phenomenal players. You have Mouse, one of the best to do it on the snake side, brings a lot of knowledge, championship pedigree. You guys have an organization that like, once you find what your new identity is with this group, going to be really good. And obviously that started to come to fruition, at World Cup. If you guys, if you didn't try to take someone's head off,
I know,
like
I get reminded
I
about it daily.
I wanted to talk about that actually, because I think your suspension,
let's skip right to it.
I actually think your suspension for that was pretty lame because it was like, they were like, oh, you can't put your hands on a ref. Bro, you didn't push a ref. You literally, you swatted a hand. Now you were like, he touched me first. He didn't really he didn't really either. But you see all the time in the NFL and the NBA where like players get touchy with the refs and they're not suspended. Like, what are we doing here? We're shooting each other with paintballs. This is a very intense game. And we're going to nerf it like that. That's insane. At the World Cup, the biggest stage, we're not paid millions of dollars to compete. Like, all we have is our pride and what we can maybe achieve in these big moments that we get an opportunity 5 times a year. You're going to rip that away from somebody over like what? Over what?
Yeah.
And look, I get it. Like, I'm all about respecting the refs. I'm all about, of course, we can't harm them. We can't hurt them. That wasn't that. So what are we really trying to do there? So I didn't like it. I also, again, it was a little excessive what you did to Colts. I will definitely say that. So maybe it was like, a buildup, but what you like actually got suspended for was like kind of lame.
And we actually have Did It Hurt? The famous Did It Hurt in the Discord here. And he was wondering, his question is, Clint, before you lit up Luca, before you made that complete that play, what did you say to yourself or your thoughts before you made that move? Oh yeah, sorry. He wrote Luca.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, to simplify it, no thoughts, just gas. That's where it was, man. I mean, it's so comical. I think I agree, Marcel. I think it got blown out of proportion, like what actually happened there.
Yeah.
I think it got handled way differently. And I think the problem wasn't even that point. I think it was when the overshooting to BJ happened with Cyrus. And again, BJ kind of grazed him. He didn't shoulder check him. He grazed him. Cyrus flopped like a female in the WNBA. Said it before. It is what it is at this point. But
hey,
right
men flop in the NBA too. All the time.
LeBron, I've seen. I don't even watch basketball, but people have said, yeah. I'll bite my tongue. But the reality is, and again, hindsight's always 20/20. But I have managed tournament series before. I have been in Jason's shoes, and I think he does a great job. But
for sure,
when it's semifinals, World Cup, it's going to get spicy. And when Cyrus and BJ had their little scenario with the overshooting, that again, I've said it before, but you take a technical timeout, and Jason talks to both teams with Ahal, the head ref. Hey, we see what's happening. We know where this is going. Fair warning. Next thing that pops off, it's getting penalized with suspensions. We're all here to win. Out of all the teams that go to World Cup, 24 in the Pro Division, right? With I think the Euro teams and everything.
Yeah, right.
Only one team's going to leave happy. Every tournament, 20 pro team, only one team's going to leave happy. So the reality is, I think it should have been stopped right there. Technical timeout. Hey, we're watching what's happening. Dudes are getting the shit shot out of them, and it's starting to get chirpy. We allow it, but next thing that pops off, here's what's going to happen. And I think we get that clean slate, and they don't suspend Cyrus and BJ. I think the match plays on. Whoever wins. Who cares?
It's going to be different for sure. Yeah,
keep it consistent.
So
and that was the root of it. And then again, I retaliated because of what happened to BJ, and I'm very protective of anyone, friend, family, colleague, you name it. And so there was no thought. The thought was retaliation. And I joked with Maddie, but you've seen Boys in the Hood, where the term Ricky came from. He's going down the back road. He gets blasted. Ricky, what do? They show up at that joint and smoke those guys in the parking lot. That was my mindset. And so that's what I did to Colt. It's nothing.
You heard it
Colt.
here.
I even texted Colt the other day and was like, bro, how's the leg? What's the plan? He's filling me in. That's his update, not mine.
Well, that's the thing, Clint.
And it's good vibes.
Dude, we need to make this sport a spectacle, and we can't shy away from this. It's a very fast-paced and energetic game. Let's just say that, right? And we can't shy away from that big energy, that wildness. That's the spectacle. That's what the people want to see. They want to see the crazy moments. They want, we got to be mindful of obviously safety and keeping it as safe as we can, but we cannot shy away from the carnage and the wild stuff, because that is going to be what catches fire. That's going to be what people say, oh, wow, did you see that paintball game? You can't look away from it when things like that are happening. You know what I mean? It's a spectacle, and we got to make sure that we keep this game and engage that spectacle like that.
Yeah, it's comical. I had a guy reach out and he's like, I want to buy that jersey, the one where you killed that guy.
the one that you can't touch. The jersey you can't touch. You don't touch a Johnson jersey.
Dude, so good. I was so pumped that guy asked for that specific one. But I think it is weird. I mean, it was probably a 50-50 split on the internet. I mean, that view got like 10 million views. But it was cool to see how people were like, dude, thanks for making paintball entertaining again. We've seen a bunch of slow matches, 1-point games for 2 seasons now. That match was legit on both. No matter who won, it was entertaining for the community. And I think that's awesome.
And that's why when we opened up this show, you know, like me and Marcelo even before, and he said it on the show, is we need to follow players like you, players that create spectacles, players that have a bigger than life, you know, imagery, and just like make this something that we want to watch. We're not gonna, nobody's gonna want to watch a boring, slow paintball game where, you know, it's gonna be boring. We got to make it freaking crazy, man. We got to life it up, get it going.
Yeah, I forget if it was my wife or someone else, but this last event, we were losing to damage by 2. We need to get some 2 quick points on the board. And so I run through, shoot like 4 bodies, and I was in like their rocket, their Dorito tower kind of bunker. And so I had some paint on my elbow. And I remember running through,
Oh yeah,
smoking 4 nerds, just shooting out of their spots, just having a good time, man. Paintball I like to play. And I think it was Chad. I think it was Chad. He starts getting chirpy with me saying I'm hit on the back. And I remember walking up to him. I don't even know if I said anything, but I remember my wife, she's like, when I was watching, I thought you were about to act up. You better stay in your lane, player. You remember what happened last time. And so it's funny now when like things do get a little chirp, because I'm a chirpy guy. Like at practice, like, but I'm here to have a good time, just like I want people to have a good time.
Dude, it's sports.
Even a third party. Yeah, third party match. We're playing X Factor. I'm yelling at Fuzz. You guys are in the pit. I'm making, and like you guys laugh. And that's what we should get out of those weekends. It
Absolutely,
should be,
man.
We're sparring buddies, and we want to give each other a black eye, but it's beers and hugs afterwards.
That's right.
And people are getting a little too attached to the intensity.
That's correct.
They think there should be a lack of intensity. It's like, no, that's why I play this game. If I want to go play something slow, I'll play golf on the weekends. But this is why
you'll still talk shit in golf. Stop it. I see you on the
I will
on the course. You just be ripping
100%, dude.
Clint, I like we have a bunch of Discord questions. We definitely want to get into some of those. A question that I've been really curious that I wanted to ask you about, because I think you've probably in the last 2 seasons have probably had the biggest body of work when it comes to just explosive moves. You've had the most explosive moves. I don't know if you've won move of the event yet, but like I feel like I could think of 5 different occasions where you did something so ridiculous where honestly, I'm saying like, okay, that's a little lucky. Like he just sent it, but maybe it's not. And I want to ask you, like, what inspires these big moves you've made where it seems like you go and your goal is to get like one person and then you realize I'm kind of alive. You dive, you come up and you're like, oh, I'm in bonus territory. And you just kind of go nuts and shoot 3 people. Is the entire move planned out, or are you just kind of, walk us through the process of this, of some of these big moves? Like, is it just a gut feeling and you're like, I gotta go, I gotta trust this instinct? Or is it more cerebral, more in depth? Like, have you thought about this move and, before? Yeah. Walk me through it.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And a lot of people have asked me that over the last 2 seasons. I have one move of the event. It was the Dallas event this past year that was in Garland against Infamous, where it was like, that's one where I kind of fell. So that one specifically, it was wet and muddy. So we're throwing socks over our cleats, all the things. And so I did dive. I think it was Rodarte up in the middle. But I did kind of dive across just to like get him clean, because inevitably if you're going to make a move, you better take at least one body with you. And if not, then you should be banned. No, I'm kidding. And so on that one, 100%, it was the idea was a trade. So I dive, he happens to switch, I hit the ground, and then it's the reaction. So I jump up, and just when I jump up, I'm already gunned forward, and Ryan Hall's in that snake tower. He just head checks inside, and I happen to shoot him in the face. Like, was not planned at all. But then I knew Brusselback is in the snake, so then I turn, because that's a threat. He's crawling, fully exposed. I shoot him, and then it's Joe Barrett in the Dorito playing heads up, as that field was. It was hard to get on the Dorito side, so he's playing heads up. I had his back. I shoot him. We win the match, whatever. Was any of it planned? Not at all. Just the middle guy. But I think where a lot of people make a mistake in paintball is after a big move, then they just run to their death. You'll hear that term a lot, right?
All the time.
And so you just got to be adaptable. And I think it's worked out a lot of times for me, luckily, in the past 2 seasons. But man, if I can actually give credit where it's due on this, I feel like I've always made big moves, and I try a lot of stuff at practice, and I get shot a lot. And sometimes I get frustrated, the coach gets frustrated, whatever. But man, it goes back to the saying, champions aren't made on the field, they're revealed there. You've got to try stuff and find your RPM limit, because it's different for everybody. Just how some players can run snake off break every point, some at every other point, right? You just got to know your limit. But really what's helped me is 2 years ago, we had Cody Mikowski on the team. And he said, I think he had a humbling conversation with Ryan Gray, who was coaching us. But he said, we got to let Clint off the leash. You keep trying to put him in a spot and shoot 9 pods or hold us, like, let the kid go play. Like, let's create a couple plays where Clint can just go play. And so he fought for me, and it's really paid out. It's really helped me also feel confident in making those moves to where if I go die, I wasn't the guy keeping him out of the Doritos or keep him out of the snake or whatever. So shout out to Cody for just putting the stamp of approval on my play style, but also bringing that message to team meetings and allowing us to change our style a little bit.
Yeah, that's so important to allow players to explore their creativity. And I actually had some kids at the Team USA tryout this weekend that were talking to me about their coaches back home. These players play way too conservatively, and I asked them why, and they're like, "Well, if we make a mistake at practice, we kind of get yelled at. We're kind of limited in our ability to explore things. And at practice, you got to be encouraged to explore your creativity and see what you get away with. Otherwise, you don't grow. You can always pull it back. It's hard to speed it up." But Clint, I know again we're a little limited on time here. We're gonna go through a fire round of Discord questions. Yeah, hell yeah.
All right, I got a few.
Hot seat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got quick fire. Yeah, we got your current favorite firearm.
Favorite firearm?
Yeah.
I'm a standard guy, so Glock 19 with a red dot, extended mag, and then for rifle, probably a 10.5-inch AR suppressed is kind of the go-to right now.
Yeah, fire.
My God,
all right, how many pull-ups can you do?
Pull-ups
from Bolson 69.
Bolson 69, and the other one was Jay Stu. Shout out to Jay Stu.
Pull-ups in one set, no warm-up, man, nothing crazy. Probably 27, 29.
All right, solid.
Oh, that's a good amount. Yeah. All right, I got from Mark Paris. Clint, while in paintball jail, you commented on how soft paintball has gotten. If you had Tom Cole's job, what would you do to make paintball less soft?
Make it less soft. I would take away overshooting. For
They
sure.
did.
Take it away.
They did. You don't get an overshooting penalty. Only on sportsmen, like if you shoot at the back of their head 35 times.
Okay. Well, I would redefine some of these terms.
Okay.
And then what I would do, honestly, the first thing, it's the root of it, but re-identify what leads to a suspension. Because I had a suspension at World Cup, sat an entire match. It bled over to the following season inside the first match. I think having better boundaries and clarity, so players then can, what is right and what's wrong.
That's fair. All right, we got Verb. Favorite food, favorite place to eat it?
Man, I'm a simple guy. Favorite food, whatever my wife cooks. Favorite place to eat it, at home.
That's epic.
Yeah, that's it right there.
We're getting rid of seed oils, man. Good luck in restaurants with that.
Good shit. Exactly. You can't. You're right. It's so funny. You go to restaurants and you think you're eating healthy and like you're not losing weight, you're not feeling good. It's because you're not eating healthy. Yeah, these seed oils, they got you fucked up. All right, Dylan Boyum, shout out to DB, the Bruiser. He wants to know, CJ, with the 3 true Texas teams being in the same bracket for event number 2, who are you predicting to be the top 2 seeds at the end of prelims? And who is your favorite player to put extra paint on in those games?
Oh man, shots fired, literally. I think it'll be Fit and us, top 2 coming out of that. Favorite person to put paint on, man, I'd say from Paintball Fit, probably Brody, because we've played against Paintball Fit forever and he overshoots at practice.
Okay.
I don't do that at practice. So it'd be Brody, but I'm a big fan of Brody.
What about X Factor?
X Factor, favorite one to overshoot, man, probably Billy. I'm a big fan of Billy. It's either probably him or Matt. Honestly, I'd say Matt. Actually, let me poke Matt a little bit if I had to do it. We're shooting backs and packs, baby. So I'll pick on Matt for that one.
Nice.
This is a legendary convo. All right. Basically the worst. Do you have a get amped song? What is it?
No, we don't really do a bunch of music around here. The team, we listen to it, but I'm a simple guy. Like a lot of people do pre-workout before matches or take maybe a pharmaceutical. I'm out, man. Strictly business. Give me some water, some salt. Yeah.
You're telling me ACD's they're on PEDs. All right. Tom Cole.
Yeah, dude. I just said I can do 27 pull-ups. No, I was kidding.
Facts.
Yeah, no music, just thoughts, baby.
There we go.
Love that. All right. My last question from the Discord is from Osborne for this. This is a great question, actually. Clint, can you share a pivotal moment that changed the trajectory of your career? You've spoken on a few, but if you had to choose one that was like the most pivotal, what would it be?
Whew, man. Most pivotal moment in my career, paintball wise.
Meeting Mark Johnson.
Man, yeah, I was gonna say, I think alignments and assignments of who you meet and when. And yeah, that's a great one, Tyler. I'm glad you mentioned it. I really do think it is for meeting Mark. That guy, I literally can't give him enough credit. And it is unfortunate. I'll try to be super short with this, but the
Oh, you're
last
good.
2 years, last 3 years, he's been very verbal about paying players and doing what he can for our team, our sport, and all things paintball. People don't even have the first understanding of what Mark does, from scholarships to funding divisional teams. I mean,
Mark is the
people
man.
just
He
don't
really is.
understand.
Yeah.
And I've never asked Mark for anything, and if I have, it's been on a mutualistic relationship. But even this past weekend, I felt bad because Giant Party had a big windstorm come through, tore all the nets out from all 5 tournament fields. He's
Jeez.
replaced those. The
God.
night before, we have a tornado warning of this past weekend. Night before, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Luckily, they take the nets down. But I even felt worried of texting him, asking if we had practice paint for that weekend. I'm like, I just hate asking him for anything because a lot of people go to him with large asks, but he's done more than I can ever repay him for. And I think that is why I have the fire in me to produce for his team, because appreciation is an action word. It's not the thank yous. It's not the hugs, the high fives. It's going out and performing at the highest level and be like, that was for you. And so big shout out to Mark Johnson. Love that guy. He's my best friend. Wouldn't be here without him, sincerely.
Damn, man. All right. Well, let everybody know where they can follow you. And we can't thank you enough for your time, Clint. This has been a really amazing episode, bro.
Yeah, no, appreciate what you guys are doing, providing visibility to the sport, getting characters on here that don't even play paintball, but now do,
Yeah.
and all the things. And so appreciate what you guys are doing.
All love.
Yeah, Instagram, ping me, Clint Johnson 58. And no, I'm grateful to be here. And for all of you that are a fan of me, if you see me at an event, come say what's up, say hello. Would love to meet you, and let me know how I can help you in any way.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah,
and we'll
dude.
be watching. We know you'll be continuing to do those crazy ass moves out there. So keep it rolling, bro.
Let's go. Appreciate you guys. Have a
All
good
right,
one.
appreciate you.
Likewise, brother.
All right, dude.
Hell yeah.
Peace.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to the show. We appreciate your support more than you know. As you guys heard about midway through the episode, if you guys would like to support PTG in any way, you could head over to ptgpaintball.com. You could click the orange Patreon link and sign up at any level and get access to our Discord. The Discord is one of the most phenomenal communities in the game of paintball. We have so many different channels in there. It's great for learning. It's great for connecting, finding teams, selling equipment, whatever it is you want to do in there. We truly have it all, and we hope to see you in there. So again, head over to ptgpaintball.com, click the orange Patreon link, and we will see you in there.